80s rock songs were not subtle. Some were huge hits. Others were buried on albums millions owned. But the hooks were so catchy, people forgot how filthy the words really were. One even landed on the Filthy 15. Number 7, Centerfold by the Jay Giles Band. You know this one whether you want to or not. That hook is one of the most contagious earworms ever cut. All bounce and hand claps, and those glorious keyboard stabs. It's a party in a song, the kind of record that fills a dance floor before the first verse even lands. And maybe because the hook is so catchy, almost nobody ever stops to listen to the actual story. And the story is kind of a sad one. The narrator is flipping through a girly magazine, and there he finds that sweet, innocent girl he had a crush on back in homeroom. He's shocked, disappointed, and fighting the part of himself that still wants to look. The whole song is him watching his sweetest memories get bought and sold, while trying to square the innocent girl in his head with the adult image staring back at him. My blood runs cold, my memory has been sold. But what makes it worse is that there's a famous story behind it. One version says the idea came from a buddy of the band's drummer, Stephen Joe Bladd, who opened a dirty magazine one day and found his own old high school sweetheart staring back as the centerfold. But whether that was the literal spark or just the legend that grew around it, Seth Justman turned that nightmare into the song. Even those shiny synths have a backstory. The band had been too broke to afford them on their earlier records, so that slick new sound is basically the sound of them finally getting paid. It is a dirty little shock dressed up as a happy hit. But the band didn't even pick it as the lead single. Their label pushed it out front anyway. That turned out to be a good call. Centerfold went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in February of 1982 and parked there for 6 straight weeks. The biggest hit this band ever had. 6 weeks at number 1, and millions of people were clapping along to a song about a schoolboy crush, a dirty magazine, and a memory he could never get back. Our next song sounds like pure summer fun, until you remember the chorus is basically about pain and pleasure getting tangled together. Number 6, Hurt So Good by John Cougar. Before the records finally said John Mellencamp, the Heartland rock elder statesman, he was still John Cougar, and this was his windows down, fist on the wheel summer smash. The idea for the song hit him while he was in the shower, and he walked out still basically dripping wet to tell his old friend and co-writer George Green he had a great chorus. Mellencamp later said they thought of it as a Shel Silverstein thing, and that it was really just a joke. That joke turned into one of the songs that made him a star. It sounds like pure good times, that chugging riff and that big chorus. So most people sing it as an anthem and never stop to think about what it means. Hurt so good. The whole hook is built on pleasure and pain getting tangled together, and the video made sure nobody missed the rough-edged side of it. When it came time to shoot, they filled it with bikers, leather, motorcycles, and small-town danger, leaning into the kinky reading the lyric only hinted at. That throwaway shower joke topped the rock chart, climbed to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, blocked from number 1 by Eye of the Tiger, and won Mellencamp what remains his only Grammy.
When I was a young boy,
Our next song sounds like a rebellion anthem, until you realize the yell was not political at all. Number 5, Rebel Yell by Billy Idol. That snarl, that roaring guitar, that fist-pumping chorus. This song is the sound of leather jackets and middle fingers. It felt like the ultimate stick-it-to-the-man anthem, and almost nobody had any idea what it was really about. Starting with where the title even came from. Idol got it off a bottle. He was at a party at Ronnie Wood's place in New York, watching Wood, Mick Jagger, and Keith Richards drink Rebel Yell bourbon. The bottle even had a Confederate officer on the label. But Idol was not interested in writing a Civil War song. He just loved the title. He took that old war cry and turned it into what he later called a sexual cry of love, inspired by his relationship with dancer Perry Lister. So when he howls, in the midnight hour she cried more, 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 that is not a crowd demanding an encore. Once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Every more, more, more hits differently. Everybody assumed it was about attitude, not the bedroom. Rebel Yell was the title track of a double platinum album, became a mainstay on MTV, and helped turn Billy Idol into one of the defining rock faces of the decade. Millions of people have thrown a fist in the air to a song about midnight desire and never noticed.
With a rebel yell, she come on.
Our next track sounds like a filthy little joke until you remember it came from one of rock's most serious comeback albums. Number 4, Giving the Dog a Bone by AC/DC. Now, the story behind this one is probably heavier than you think. Back in Black was the first album AC/DC made after their classic singer Bon Scott died at 33 following a night of heavy drinking earlier that year. The band nearly called it quits, but then they hired Brian Johnson, flew to the Bahamas, and cut the whole record at Compass Point Studios in a matter of weeks.
She got the power of union. Yeah, she only hits when it's hot.
Before the album was even out, Giving the Dog a Bone was already in the set for Johnson's first ever concert with AC/DC in Namur, Belgium. That whole night was a trial by fire. Johnson later admitted he was so nervous he accidentally sang the same lyrics to 2 different songs, could not hear a thing, and thought he had blown it. So imagine that pressure. New singer, new album, a crowd that had not even heard half the songs yet. And somewhere in the middle of all that, he had to sell one of the dirtiest deep cuts on the record like he had been in the band for years. And he fit right in, shrieking through a song built almost entirely around oral sex innuendo, over a riff that struts like it owns the bar. Now, keep AC/DC in the back of your mind because we're not done with them. They are repeat offenders, and they earned a second spot near the top of this list. That one did not just sound filthy, it landed on the PMRC's infamous list of the most offensive songs in America.
Just give it a dog a bone.
Hold that PMRC thread, because we're coming back to it. But first, the best-selling single in Britain in 1980 was a catchy little nightmare about a teacher, a schoolgirl, and a line nobody wanted crossed. Number 3, Don't Stand So Close to Me by The Police.
Don't stand so close.
It's tense, it's literary, it's got that nervous groove and Sting's choir boy yelp on top. Brainy new wave rock at its finest. You wouldn't expect a song this sophisticated to be so dirty, but it is. The song is about a school teacher trying not to cross a line with one of his students. The guilt, the lust, and the whole thing blowing up when the other adults start talking.
Loose talk in the classroom. To hurt they try and try.
And that gets a little suspicious when you know that before The Police, Sting really had worked as an English teacher, which is exactly why plenty of people assumed the song was a confession. But Sting pushed back on that. He later told audiences it was not autobiographical, even if the setup made the rumors almost impossible to avoid. Either way, Don't Stand So Close to Me was the best-selling single in Britain in 1980, cracked the US top 10, and in 1982 won The Police a Grammy. Our next track was not even one of the album's big singles, but 5 years later, Washington treated it like evidence in a national morals trial. Number 2, Let Me Put My Love Into You by AC/DC.
Let me put my love into you, babe. Let me put my...
And who else would it be? I told you they were repeat offenders. But here's the thing. This one was not even one of the album's big singles. It's another deep cut off Back in Black, and it's pretty directly a song about sexual conquest. And for 5 years, it mostly sat there as another blunt AC/DC album track. Then, in 1985, a group of politically connected Washington women drew up the infamous Filthy 15, a list of songs they said showed how far rock lyrics had gone. This was Tipper Gore, wife of Senator Al Gore, Susan Baker, wife of Treasury Secretary James Baker, plus Pam Hauer and Sally Nebius. The press had a nickname for women like this, the Washington Wives, and they had enough influence to make the whole record industry sit up. AC/DC's Let Me Put My Love Into You landed at number 6 on their list, tagged under sex. And the funny thing is, for a song they branded that filthy, the lyrics are weirdly polite. Nearly every line starts with, "Let me." Still, with everything floating around in 1985, this old album cut was dirty enough to become part of the PMRC's case against rock lyrics. Not a single, not a new release. Just one blunt little Back in Black track that ended up in the middle of one of the decade's biggest censorship fights.
Let me put my love into you.
Our final song sounds like a sleek car metaphor, until you realize the artist slipped one of the dirtiest lines of the decade into a mainstream pop rock classic. Number 1, Little Red Corvette by Prince. Yeah, you know this one. The slow synth build, the heartbroken vocals, that rock guitar bite, and one of the first videos by a black artist to get regular play on MTV, alongside Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, back when the channel was still dominated by white rock acts. It crossed over to everybody, climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 as Prince's first ever top 10 hit, and helped introduce him to a massive pop audience. But you'd think Prince was singing about a car. The idea came to him while he was dozing in the backseat of keyboardist Lisa Coleman's big pink and white 1964 Mercury Montclair after one of his marathon all-night studio sessions. The lyrics came to him in pieces while he napped. The Little Red Corvette is a woman, and the song is a one-night stand with her told almost entirely in car puns. But hands down, the dirtiest line is the pocket full of horses and Trojan bit, with some of them already used. Somehow that line slid under the radar and still got played at school dances all over America. That's our list. What are some of the dirtiest songs you remember from the 80s? Drop them in the comments. And if you made it this far, you'll probably crush the Backstage Classics trivia book. It's linked below.